All right, finishing up with the fourth team in the 2014 NFL draft. Everything cleaned up. There's a particular word I'm about to use in a second here that sums up everything they did. This fourth team that I'll say is the last team out of the group of four that got an A- would be the Cleveland Browns. Now, some people think they did really good just at the top, but I think they did good with the few picks that they did have and in free agency. So to start off, of course, the main topic of discussion has got to be the fact that he took Justin Gilbert, 8th overall, even though he was clearly the best cornerback. It wasn't for guys like, Denard and the such, Fuller even. Guys like that making a name for themselves towards the, 2014 season. He would have easily still been number one, but he didn't come out last year. Finished up his tenure at Oklahoma State, and he went first out of all the cornerbacks, 8th overall, to the Browns. But the thing that's most interesting about what the Browns did at the top of the draft was the fact that they took Johnny Manziel 22nd. Instead of taking him higher, for example, Gilbert's spot, they traded back a little bit after the Gilbert. I think it was after the Gilbert pick. And then they picked him 22nd, which has become like a cursed spot for a quarterback. They picked Brandon Weeden there. We know how that's turned out. He's in Dallas now. Brady Quinn, which I don't think was handled well. Maybe he wasn't going to be great, but I think he could have been better or looked better than what he's looked like so far up to this point. Been on a few teams already. But definitely not first-round guys by any stretch. But the moment they did that, and then Manziel went past the Cowboys and they grabbed him at 22. They got into that position. They had 22 overall. Even though it's like cursed time, I said masterful. Even though I didn't realize this has been the third time they've done that. Maybe third time's a charm, but they got talent on the roster, and they ain't getting no younger. Joe Thomas, Joe Hayden. They have young guys. Josh Gordon, whether he's going to be a Brown for much longer or not, we'll see next year, I guess, if he doesn't win his appeal or whatever. And then Jordan Cameron, no slouch there, showed up a whole lot last year, converting him from basically a receiver more to a tight end. But getting Johnny Manziel 22nd overall was huge. It was the first word that came to my mind when I saw it was masterful. I was like, whoa. They got Gilbert and Manziel. If they take Manziel at 8, they're not getting Gilbert anywhere near 22. So, being honest, I can't complain. If I was a Cleveland Browns fan, I'd be excited on that first round alone. Never mind what they did after that. My team gets like a B+ or A- regardless. But what they did with their next pick was take Joel Bitonio, 35th overall, with their third pick, offensive tackle, right, maybe left. But they could put him at right because they got Joe Thomas. So, maximize him at right tackle. Some people even thought, I think it was either Mike Mayock, don't quote me on that, or someone else on NFL Network or somewhere, they said that they have him as possibly could end up being the top tackle taken in the draft. It just depends on how he reaches his upside, his potential, if he go ahead and realizes what he can possibly achieve. The fourth pick was Chris Kirksey, I want to say, out of Iowa, 71st overall, linebacker. They could use some linebackers. They don't got a couple of guys that they used to have anymore, like I want to say David Bowens. I think DeQuell Jackson might have left. They could use some linebackers to bolster that. They got Barkevious Mingo on the outside still, so he's nothing but a pass rusher. Convert him to linebacker. I think he was a little injured last year. He saw some time, but definitely, probably I want to say the best pass rusher out the draft last year. They followed up with their 5th pick with Terrence West, running back out of Towson, with the 94th overall pick. Not a bad pick. I want to say definitely a smaller school, but definitely I think he came out early. I think he declared for the draft, but either way, whether he was a senior or not, small school or not a bad pick. He was definitely on the radar. He was on my board as one of the 20 or 30 running backs that could be taken, but I think only 19 were taken in the draft. Then after that, you have Pierre Desir, big cornerback, big body guy out of Lindenwood. I think he's like 6 foot. What is it, 6'1" or 2", something like that. He's definitely over 6 foot. With the 127th overall pick, they grabbed Desir. Some people had him go maybe to the Saints late, or some other teams that had looks at him. But with all the private workouts he did, he ended up with The Browns, pretty good steal with the 127th pick, which was their last pick of the draft. It wasn't too low, but definitely last pick of their draft. But he also did damage in free agency. Undrafted free agent highlights for them would be Isaiah Crowell, running back at Alabama State, came from, SEC, storied SEC experience in the time he spent at Georgia. But he just didn't get enough playing time, or he wasn't going to get that playing time, because as soon as Whaley left, and I forgot the other name of the other running back, but he went to Minnesota, came out early. But the two running backs he was behind, eventually Todd Gurley came out into place, the wheel kept spinning, and they had another superstar feature running back, so to get more playing time, I guess he went to Alabama State. They followed that with offensive lineman Anthony Dima, a little bit lesser known lineman at a UMass. Not bad. He was on my radar. I had him as possibly going in the draft, but they got him without having to pay any draft wages. Followed that up with Connor Shaw, quarterback out of South Carolina. Reminds me of like when you do fantasy draft and there's like slim pickets at the end, or you have to go to free agency to fill a position or two to get depth, balance. But I guess they feel like they wanted to go with a second rookie, and Connor Shaw was somebody at the top of their list. They wanted to take a look at him. I don't know. Bruce Ellington is alright, but he's 5'7", and I don't know how good he did make Connor Shaw look good. I don't know how much he made him look good, but they grabbed Connor Shaw nonetheless, quarterback out of South Carolina. The next pick, the next highlight I'll say here is Florida State University's Kenny Shaw, wide receiver there with lots of experience, of course, coming fresh off the championship win with the Seminoles. Not a bad receiver. I did watch that game live, and it was a pretty good game, and he looked okay in it for a little bit that he was there. I think he caught, I think it was Kenny Shaw caught maybe a couple of big passes towards the end. It might have been him or Green. But definitely not bad for picking him as an undrafted free agent. And following up with that, we'll go with their last highlight I'll say here. Out of Ball State, wide receiver Willie Snead. I had him possibly even going into the draft, maybe like 6th, 7th overall. I think he's like 5'11", 6 foot, so he's not very short, but he's not the, prototypical, Megatron, clones. But maybe he made Keith Wenning look good. Maybe Keith Wenning made him look good, the quarterback for Ball State. But, time will tell. But that was definitely a good pick to give some more offense. They're going to need some depth now that they don't have Josh Gordon for at least some time, if not the whole year or the future altogether. All in all, an A- for the Browns. Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that they picked like these B-rate players, or maybe they did a little bit more free agency, they probably could have got an A. But to me, it's an A-. And stay tuned for the following videos. There's going to be teams that pretty much got A+. There's going to be there's 6 teams that got A+ in my opinion. Catch you then.